Scugog is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. Today, we acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic Indigenous connection to this land and recognize the contributions First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, our province, and our country as a whole. Matters from closed session. Earlier this evening, we met in closed session, and we approved minutes of closed session of April 29th and May 13th, and minutes of the closed session of Special Council May 13th as well. We did discuss an Enbridge situation, and we have a resolution here. I would ask for a mover that Resolution PCA 2017-171 passed on June 19th, 2017 and ratified at the June 26, 2017 Council meeting regarding a tax rebate on the newly constructed gas infrastructure to serve Scugog Island be rescinded due to a legal opinion received by the Township, and that contingent on the passage of Recommendation 2, staff be directed to advise Enbridge Gas, Inc. that Council has rescinded the previous Township Council resolution agreeing to provide a rebate on the municipal portion of the property tax on the newly constructed gas infrastructure to serve Scugog Island, and that although the Township of Scugog is in support of the project, the Township is unable to provide any financial assistance due to the possible violation of Section 106 of the Municipal Act. I will require a two-thirds majority for this motion. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Watton, Councillor McDougall. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. The Advisory Committee appointments. Oh, I think we still have something to do with the 3.4. Further on Enbridge, that Resolution PCA 2000, oh, that's it, I've done that one. That contingent on the passage of recommendation, I've done that one too. Sorry. Council, that although the town, I've done it all. Okay. I've done it all. Moving on now to another item that we dealt with in Committee of the Whole in camera, moved by this is the committee appointments. Do I have a mover that Christine Robinson be appointed to the Scugog Housing Advisory Committee as the Community Living Durham North representative, and that the resignation of Lloyd Morden from the Utica Memory Hall Board be accepted and the seat be declared as vacant and the Durham Insurance Pool be notified of such, and that any remaining vacancies continue to be advertised for recruitment? Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Guido, questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And I am pleased to say that in the in-camera session that we conducted the 2018-2019 annual performance appraisal of our CAO, Paula Lohr, and that Council would like to express our complete confidence in the leadership of our CAO, and we look forward to the exciting possibilities and successes in the coming year.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council. Very much appreciated, truly.
You're very welcome. It's very well deserved. Thank you. Any matters, any disclosure of pecuniary interest and nature thereof? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Any announcements from Council? Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have several, if I may. The first one being a huge shout out to Dory McDonald and her partners for the announcement of Comfort Inn and Suites coming to our location, to our town very soon. Almost all the feedback has been very positive, and I'm sure that as news gets out, more and more positive feedback will be heard. Just this weekend, already someone from the Angels said, oh good, we can now have a official, proper tournament where people can stay. So I think the hype will continue to grow, and I hope that the shovel will go in the ground very soon, but probably not till the fall. And my second announcement is that on June 2nd at the Caesarea Hall, there is a community open house to show not only the hall, there'll be some vendors and some just general information about the facility, and I believe that the Caesarea firefighters are also participating. Are they doing lunch or breakfast, or, Chief?
Through you, Your Worship, we are opening the doors, and
doing tours.
yes, opening the doors and hopefully teaching some of the residents about fire safety and emergency preparedness.
Thank you, Chief. And lastly, Madam Mayor, on June 8th, just a reminder that the Community Care Walk for Mental Health is being held, and to invite anyone to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watton. Any further announcements? Councillor McDougall?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The first thing I'd like to announce is the Canoe the Nonquan is this weekend, June the 1st, starting at 8 a.m. Of course, it's to raise funds for the Scugog Museum. The second announcement I have for tonight is volunteer awards for Greenbank are on Wednesday, June 19th at the Hall. And the last announcement that I have is that starting today, June 27th through to May 30th is Bike Month, and today was Bike to Work Day, May 27th to June 30th. And if you go online, you can find more out about it at bikemonth.ca. So all month there's giveaways and all sorts of contests that you might be interested in. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. You can take your helmet off now.
You're sure I don't need it? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I hope not. Further announcements from council? Councillor Kieserbrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On June the 8th at 12:30, the Blackstock Curling Club are having their 10th annual golf tournament at the Summerlee Golf Course. The cost is $75 a golfer and includes dinner, so please contact Karen Katawaki if you wish to participate. And also, Tuesday, May 28th at 6 p.m. is the Riders Bike Night at the Blackstock Motorsports. They have door prizes, a 50-50 draw, some swag, some entertainment, and they're supporting PTSD and first responders, veterans, and women's shelters like the Bethesda House.
Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the Walk for Dog Guides is this coming Sunday, so that's Evo and his group. They're very excited about...
It was last Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry, last Sunday.
It was yesterday.
I'd like to congratulate them. Can we amend that? Sandra? The Farmers Market, am I okay with the Farmers Market?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead.
Farmers Market opens June the 1st at 10:30, and I will be there with bells on, looking forward to what will be another great year.
Thank you, Councillor Brown, and we were given a certificate of appreciation for our participation in the Dog Guides Walk, so the township heavily supported them. And Councillor Watton, you had another one?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I failed to mention congratulations out to our communications person, Lori Bauer, as well as our Tourism Advisory Committee on the launch of the tourism website. It is up and running now, and it couldn't have been made possible without the partnership and collaboration with Central Counties, who helped fund the celebration and helped us create our tourism strategy. So, huge congratulations, and I think the website looks awesome.
It sure was. Any other announcements from council? Seeing none. Any announcements from staff? Oh, seeing none, then we will move on to delegations and presentations. And the first one up there, this is a bittersweet moment. We are announcing the retirement after 31 years of our very dedicated employee, Diane Knutson. Diane, do you want to come up? On behalf of the council and the Township of Scugog, I would like to congratulate you on your retirement from the Development Services Department as planning technician. Your commitment and dedication over the last 31 years to the community in several roles with the clerks and Development Services Departments has been remarkable. We have benefited from your experience and knowledge. I would like to thank you for all the contributions you have made to our municipality. Best wishes as you start this new chapter and enjoy your well-deserved retirement.
Let the grandkids join her. She loves the grandkids.
Congratulations to all of our council staff and shake their hands. Sorry. So Diane, your last day is Thursday?
Friday.
Friday?
Yep.
There's the boss. Congratulations, Diane. Next, I'd like to call up the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority for their annual operating priorities for 2019. Mike Walters, the CAO, please come forward, and you have 15 minutes as a presentation. Welcome. Been
Thank you,
working with
Madam
Mike
Mayor.
for a long time, 15 years.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council, staff, and members of the audience. It's my great pleasure to be here. It has been too long. Annual operating priorities for 2019. This is part of an ongoing effort for our Conservation Authority to be more transparent and open on how we're investing the proceeds that we're receiving. So, annual operating priorities, they're derived from our strategic plan. For the most part, our 2016 to 2020 strategic plan, vision to action, action to results. Sometimes there's opportunities that do arise, so some are opportunistic, reactive based on either external or internal pressures. And they can span a number of years. So you're going to see some are 1 year AOP items, others might be 2 years. So here are the AOP items for this year. I'm going to go through each one of them, so I'm going to go fairly quickly because I understand you have a busy agenda tonight, and 15 minutes goes by really quick. First is our emergency mapping flood relief program. This is something that we think is critical moving forward. We're updating all of our floodplain mapping and something we call emergency management system, which provides real-time information on flooding as well as information to the first responders on houses that could potentially flood under what conditions. In addition to that, this year we're taking it a step further. It's not enough just to warn people of impending floods. We're looking at flood relief projects which will actually reduce floodplains and take people out of harm's way. And this is a fourth quarter deliverable. We're looking for completion in 2020. We already have a number of projects identified, and as we continue to do the mapping and modeling throughout the watershed, we're going to find a lot more. So there's an ongoing project right now, for example, in your neighboring municipality, Township of Uxbridge, with the downtown crossing under Toronto Street. So. Another activity, not so prevalent here, but certainly in other parts of our watershed, is problems with sediment erosion control activities with development. And we've been working with the CSA, Canadian Standards Association, to develop new sediment and erosion control guidelines, which we're implementing across the watershed. In addition to that, we've been working with the building and land development industry and our member municipality staff from the municipalities to increase our presence out there, and we're actually looking at a fee-for-service model for inspections, and this is primarily for areas where you've got a lot of growth and the building inspectors can't keep up. So we're going to be looking at providing some services to do actual inspections in partnership with, again, municipalities. And this is a first quarter deliverable next year. One of the things we pride ourselves on is working with our municipal partners, but also the building industry. We've got a great relationship with Build. We've worked hard at developing more sustainable building practices, and we've involved the build industry as we've been doing that. And as a result, we have new guidelines for low-impact development. We're the only authority in the province to have them that require volumetric controls. As well, we're actually undertaking work, again, projects with our member municipalities to reduce runoff and improve stormwater control and water quality. So this program will continue again this year. It's actually been expanded somewhat with some additional training that we're going to be providing through the industry with a partnership with the National Green Infrastructure Program out of the United States. And it provides certification. It's a 4-day course that builders, consultants, and municipal staff can take if they so wish, and they become accredited at the end of the course. So this is a second quarter deliverable, and we'll be having a training session this fall. So we'll be notifying our member municipalities of where and when the session will be held. Reporting on key environmental trends and change is very important in our watershed. One of the biggest issues we've identified moving forward is salt. I know phosphorus is a big issue here in Scugog, as it is in Lake Simcoe, but salt actually has become critical of importance. If we don't do anything, within 51 years, we are going to reach critical toxic levels for salt concentration within the lake, which is unacceptable. So currently, we're working with a group of individuals called the Freshwater Roundtable. It's private sector folk, it's all levels of government, and again, municipal representation, and we're looking at doing three things. The first is developing best management practices for private industry, not so much for the public. The municipalities are doing a great job. This is more for the private industry, the big box stores. Providing those best management practices, getting them enshrined in regulation, and then looking at regulation that would indemnify industries and commercial enterprises if they're following best management practices and somebody trips, slips, and falls. They would be indemnified against being sued because they're following the appropriate practice. It's the only way we can see in which we can actually make a reduction, a meaningful reduction in the amount of chloride being put down. And then there'll be an educational program as well as an outreach program for the public. This is a first quarter deliverable first of next year. There's a white paper being developed which is going to be sent out to our municipal partners very soon. And it talks about the three-step process and identifies all of the partners involved. Climate change is a really important program at the authority. We're looking at both mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is looking for how we can reduce our carbon footprint and the carbon sequestration within the watershed and how to improve it. And adaptation is how do we adapt to the fact that the climate is changing, and it has changed dramatically. Our 1 in 100 year storm event, which is a storm that would only occur once every 100 years, now occurs every 10.5 years. So climate change is here. People can argue why it is here, and we have to manage for it. So we're just completing our, first of all, our watershed carbon footprint. It's a watershed balance across the entire authority area. And then we're looking at the adaptation strategy. Both will be released first quarter of next year. And there'll be actions in that that we'll be hopefully able to work with our municipal partners to see achieved in the coming years. Every 4 years, the authority undertakes an operational review. It's part of our strategic planning process. It actually helps inform our strategic plan for the following year, so we're completing that right now. It's just very timely with all the changes proposed by the province in Bill 108. So we're estimating this to be completed first quarter of next year. It'll actually probably be completed in third quarter of this year, given the problems associated with some of the proposed changes with Bill 108. Asset management is always a growing problem within municipalities as well as conservation authorities. This was our boat, which had not been maintained, and finally a good storm sunk it. Luckily it was in the dock when it happened, but we're right now developing an asset management plan in cooperation with the region of York, and we've actually received funding through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to finalize the plan. It'll include the standards for asset replacement, timelines, and cost. And it's going to reduce the uncertainty about budget requests, so we don't have to come to our municipalities and say, we need money because our boat sunk. In this case, the boat actually was paid for 100%, the new boat, through fundraising efforts of our foundation, and we thank them very much. This is a fourth quarter deliverable at the end of next year. Talent management is what we do inside with asset management. It's developing our staff, and I have a great team of staff. We've grown to about 108 people, and right now we're working on successional plans as well as training and development regime, and that is a first quarter deliverable in 2020. Improving service delivery, this was something we were working with our building and development industry already. And now we're doing it with collaboration with Conservation Ontario. So this is looking at plans of subdivision and looking at new and improved processes, reduction in process, improvements in efficiency. It's also including the Ontario Home Building Association and the Residential Construction Group, which is the ResCon. We're working on an e-permitting process with them right now that would allow for permits online. And again, it's trying to reduce the timeline associated with planning and permitting approvals, and monitoring as well. Our outcome would be a more satisfied client, and this definitely is a first quarter deliverable next year. Our Scanlon Creeks Operations Center is, finally, the work has started. We're renovating the building, and this is to provide some additional space for overcrowding within our office. It was an existing building that had been abandoned due to program changes. It was once a residential education facility. Unfortunately, that program has ended. As a result, we're repurposing the building for office space, and this will allow for future growth as well. The work is estimated to be completed before the end of this year, and we're hoping that gets done because we're sitting on everybody's laps right now within our building simply because we don't have enough space. So. And lastly, the fundraising construction of our education center. Because the overnight facility ended, we started a program which was a day-use program, and it was widely successful. Simcoe County, York Region Boards of Ed, and we've had the occasional trip from Durham Region as well, have been using the facility. It's got about a 24-year history. This is our current facility that it's essentially 3 portables with a center kiosk that was built. The portables were 20 years old 20 years ago when we got them from the York Regional School. They've outlived their life cycle, so we're replacing this feature with a brand new center. This is totally being funded through fundraising at the current time. The campaign is called the Connect campaign. The modest estimate is $3 million, but they're looking to raise more than that over the next year. We want to have the project ready to be shovel in the ground by the 2021. So this is a fourth quarter deliverable for 2020. And that's it. That's the main annual operating projects that we're looking at for this year. Be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Have any questions for Mr. Walters? Oh, obviously an excellent presentation. It's so obvious how important our conservation authorities are to our health and well-being and safety of our residents. So thank you for everything you do, and I'm very proud to be a part of that over the last number of years and to work with you, Mike. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to the presentation by Mike Walters, CAO, regarding Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority Annual Operating Priorities for 2019 be received. Councillor Ross, Councillor McDougall. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thanks very much, Mike. Now I'll call on the Region of Durham, Patricia Casco, Aaron Christie from the region, and Lori Boyce and Meseret Anyi. Hope I've pronounced that correctly. To please come forward, and we'll talk about the Water Street Sewage Pumping Station Class Environmental Assessment. And you are Patricia?
I'm Lori Boyce.
You're Lori. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Mayor, and Council, to speak on behalf of the Water Street Sanitary Sewage Pumping Station Capacity Expansion and Schedule B Class Environmental Assessment. That's quite a mouthful. I feel a bit nervous knowing that your councilors do wear helmets. having our first public information session on June 4th, next week. So we're excited to present some of the background that we will be presenting at the Public Information Center. We've had the opportunity to meet with the staff about a month ago, and they provided some early input into this assessment. So as background, I think everybody's familiar with where the Water Street Sewage Pumping Station is located. It's right in there near waterfront between the marina, the Latcham Center, the mill, and the library. The station is near its capacity, so with population growth, it won't be able to meet future capacity needs. In addition, it was built in 1971. And since then, of course, there's been upgrades and rehab work, but it's in need of additional rehab work at this time. So if it is continued to be used, it will have to be rehabilitated. So the purpose of the study is to identify the preferred solution for providing your current and projected pumping capacity for the Water Street sanitary sewage pumping station drainage area. And I think everybody must be very familiar with the class environmental assessment process. It's been around for quite some time, and most of our municipal projects have to go through the class E process. So this is a Schedule B process. It's got phase 1, problem identification, phase 2, collecting background, identifying alternatives, assessing alternatives, and selecting the preferred alternative. We then, of course, document all the process and the findings for 30-day public review of the report. We are currently just at the beginning or towards the end of the first phase of phase 2. So we've identified the problem. We've gone through the long list of alternative solutions and developed a short list. So we're going to have criteria to assess the short list. As I said, the first public information center is June 4th. We are planning on doing an assessment through the summer with the next public information session in the fall, and hoping to finish the documentation by the end of the year or early 2020 for the 30-day review period. So this is just a slide of the Port Perry sanitary sewer network, and you can see the dark black area is the drainage area of the Water Street pumping station. Port Perry is also serviced by 2 other pumping stations, the Reach pumping station and Canterbury Common pumping station that is up towards the north. And by far, the Water Street pumping station has the largest drainage area in most of Port Perry. And wastewater flows to the pumping station by gravity and then pumped to the Nonquan up to the north. Yes, and I must mention, you can see the sewage network on the figure. That yellow area is your area that is not serviced by sewer, so it's got private septic towards the south end. And I just quickly provide you with the land uses, which I think you're all familiar with. Most of Port Perry is residential, with the main central core around the pumping station, the commercial district. And you've got very little industry and pockets of commercial, and you've got green space. So when we're looking at future population projections and land use, the future is still going to be predominantly residential growth with maintaining your green space. The Water Street pumping station service requirements, go through each of the different stages that we're looking at. So, first of all, existing conditions in the service area. This is what the Water Street pumping station treats right now. It services, in 2017, 6,642 people. The area that it services is 237 hectares. I was going to say approximate, but those are not approximate numbers. Those are exact numbers. The pumping, the peak flow to the pumping station is 213 liters per second. pumping stations, they're designed on the peak flow, so that it can handle all the flows that have to be pumped through the non-Quan water pollution control plant. So the first phase of expansion was phase 1. So we projected a population increase to 10,500 people. And just to note that the region's official plan for the urban area, for Port Perry, all of Port Perry for the year 2031 is an increase in population to 11,800 people. The sanitary service area will expand from 237 hectares to 337 hectares. And another note is on the figure I showed you, the yellow area that's on septic now, that will be serviced as part of the phase 1 service area. So the note there is that there's 251 people easily serviced that can be easily connected to the existing sanitary sewer system, and they will be included. And there's another 896 that will be connected. It's a little bit more conveyance infrastructure that has to be constructed to service these people. So the peak flow that we will be designing for under these conditions is 275 liters per second. As part of the good planning, we always look at what your potential future, ultimate, long-term, forever build-out could be. So we've got 13,000 people, service area of 523, and a peak design flow of 350 liters per second. So when we're looking at solutions, we're looking at a design solution to meet your 275 liters per second capacity with the flexibility to expand in the future if required to meet 350. So there'll be enough land and facilities will be built so that they can be upgraded. So the planning for the future. So as I said, the first solution is to find the best solution to meet your existing and future pumping capacity requirements, the ones that I just went through. We're developing and evaluating alternatives and selecting the preferred alternative, and we will develop the design concept for that preferred alternative. So how the pumping station can be laid out and look like. As per the class environmental assessment process, we defined along with the alternative solutions. And many of these are to make sure that we checked everything, because occasionally there'll be a project that actually the do nothing is the preferred solution, but not in this case. So the do nothing, it won't capacity requirements. Eliminating community growth is also not an option if it's against your official plan. We looked at reducing sewage flows through the water efficiency and flow and infiltration reduction measures. And the region has ongoing programs for quite some time in terms of water efficiency and control of inflow and infiltration into the sewer system. So it will not be able to meet the future needs. Flow diversion is another. Could you divert flows to the other two pumping stations? And that means redoing your whole system, sanitary collection system that has been developed for years. So it will require a lot of additional infrastructure, conveyance, sewers to move flows around. So that is just not feasible for Port Perry as well. Which leaves us with the construction of a new pumping station, of course, named at a new location. So we're looking at new locations for this new pumping station. We're also looking at whether there could be some minor relocations of the existing pumping stations. So here are the potential alternative locations that we have developed, and remember, these are just the ones that we're assessing. There's been no conclusions as yet on So, as I said, the first in the yellow is at the existing site. And we realize it's a pretty constrained site, so, we're looking if you could possibly expand further to the library, but it is quite a constrained site. Bear with me, whether this is correct. Site 2 is, a parking lot right across the street. And that has advantages, that it's very close to the existing system, and you won't need as much of a new force main connect, but it has disadvantages as it uses up the parking spaces, and it is inconsistent with the waterfront revitalization plan. So, we do recognize that, and your staff has provided us with good input to help us assess these alternatives. Site 2 is at the parking station just towards the north. That has some possibilities. It's right near that residential house on the corner there. So that has some possibilities. Again, you are giving up some parking space. Site 3 is in your Forsyth Park. That, again, has its good location. They build pumping stations to work in with parks and environments, but it's in your open space park area. And the last one is Site 4, across from the low dock there. Again, that one is good. There's some parking space there beside the Durham,
Rowing club.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's the,
It's the Durham.
rowing club, yeah. Rowing club.
Rowing club. That one's a little bit further away from the existing pumping station, so it will require a little bit more connection infrastructure. So as I said, these are the preliminary sites we're looking at, and they will all be compared and assessed in detail. And we've developed a draft evaluation criteria to assess these alternative sites. And they're pretty basic. They're natural, social, technical, economic criteria, which is required through the Class BA process. So we started the inventory, natural environmental inventory, to look at impacts on terrestrial systems, aquatic systems, or surface and groundwater, because there's been lake filling in that area. The socioeconomic, of course, we're looking at the existing land use and the impact, any future initiatives that the township or others may have, and the disruption to the community, archaeology, and we started our consultation with First Nations, so it's quite an extensive, it's been involved with working with First Nations, quite an extensive consultation process. For technical, we're starting to look at the size and the layout of the facilities. So those boxes I showed you are approximate size of the pumping station area they will need. So we'll look at the layout, how it connects to the existing system, how compatible it is with the system, how flexible it is in the future, because you don't want to go through this in another 20 years. I will be retired by then. And the economics, the cost, the tariffs. So as I said, we're having the first public event is from 2 to 4 and 6 to 8 at the library on the 4th. We are presenting these panels, a couple more that will be available, and we're going to be having the one-on-one discussions with the public to get their input early on. But I think the assessment, the site, and the evaluation criteria. And we will be going back, taking that information, responding to comments, incorporating comments into the environmental assessment, and going back to the public, probably late fall 2019, with the recommended solution and filing by early 2020. If you'll note, the first slide I said maybe filed by late December.
Right on time.
I can talk a really long time. Good.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation, and really delighted that you are taking seriously our request for moving the pumping station. It is a waterfront, and we're planning on doing great things along the waterfront, and doesn't quite fit in, so thank you.
No, and I personally really like Woodbury. It's such a beautiful
Well, we
town
do
to
too.
have.
Just, we'll see if we have any questions first. Do you have other questions from council? Councilor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, this might be more of a question for staff, but given that we have the water enhancement project going on at the same time, how will this intertwine in it? It's kind of a chicken before egg thing, perhaps? I don't know.
Are you familiar with the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project? Okay.
With all of the staff and we've got the background, and that is going to be one of the criteria that we're looking at to be consistent with ongoing programs is a very important criteria, so that we're not doing
Add
something
anything?
that will affect your waterfront revitalization plan.
And the Lake Scugog Enhancement Plan, yes. Okay. Anything further?
Sorry, so beyond the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project, but also the waterfront plan
The
we have
waterfront
still?
plan, yeah, that's what I
okay.
mentioned as well, yeah. Thank you, yeah. Okay. Councilor McDougall?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Would it be cheaper and effective, could we get two of these pumping stations, one for here and one for Reach Street at the same time? Could we get a volume discount on that?
Yeah, we didn't actually look at that, and it really is sort of a little bit of that diversion alternative that we looked at, that you're diverting more flows to Reach and trying to...
No, I'm thinking the Reach Street pumping station for the employment lands. The one that doesn't exist yet, the 2031, I think, is when it's scheduled for. Yeah.
That wasn't part of our scope, but
We can add it into the EA as potential problems, perhaps. Thank you.
Rhetorical question?
Yes.
Any other questions?
That's what I thought.
expanding our scope, but...
Okay, with no further questions, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll look forward to the open houses. Thank you. Can I have a motion, please, that the presentation on the water sewage pumping station class environmental assessment be received? Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Watton, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Kiesebrink and Watton. Moving along now to the Scugog Accessibility Advisory Committee 2019 Work Plan. Sierra Howie, please come forward. Welcome, Sierra. And the report is on page 87. Go ahead.
So to start off, I'd like to recognize...
Sierra, right into the mic, please. Okay. You've got a quiet voice. The red light is on?
Yes, it is now.
Okay, good show. Go ahead.
As I was saying, to start off, I would like to recognize that this is actually National Accessibility Week this week, from May 26th to June 1st. I just want to make a note, I'm not going to go over the 2018 accomplishments since I was not on the committee then. I will only go over our 2019 work plan. So to start off with that, there are a number of things we as a committee are going to continue to do from the last term. We are going to continue to advocate that the township's human resource policies support inclusivity and provide a process for accommodations. We are going to continue to provide advice to council and staff on municipal projects and plans. We are going to continue to make recommendations to the planning department through the site plan review subcommittee if necessary. And we are going to continue to provide accessible customer service training for all new advisory committee members and council members if necessary. We will also provide training for all new advisory committee members and council members on the IASR, which is the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation. Something new for 2019, we as a committee decided that having a Tip the Hat award every month was a bit too much. We recommend that a maximum of 4 awards per year is more ideal. When we discussed this, we thought that having it every month, one, was too hard to find recipients, and we also decided that it lost its prestige. Having it less frequent would increase better behavior and the like. We will continue to attend accessibility forums, the region-wide advisory accessibility meetings, AMCTO, which some of you might be aware is the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario. They have workshops sometimes, and other information sessions that will be deemed as necessary. And we will also continue to review and update the 2018-2022 Accessibility Multi-Year Plan the Township has in place. We are going to continue to promote community awareness through information sessions. One idea we discussed as a committee was having like an open house with representatives from Autism Ontario, especially with the recent provincial changes to autism. We will attend the annual Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee information sharing session in 2019. It is with Brock and Uxbridge and, of course, Skewgog Townships. We as a committee also discussed potentially hosting the annual Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee information sharing session in 2020. Further to my point about this being Accessibility Week, we are starting the planning process to host an event to celebrate this week for 2020. It will include the past Tip the Hat recipients and showcase the newly designed window decals. As a committee, we discussed an idea for like almost a little garden/tea party with different representatives such as Autism Ontario. As a committee, we also discussed MP Aaron O'Toole with his recent Wellness Hub being released. For those of you who don't know, it's sort of a online world where people can reach out and get the help they need for mental health. We will address accessible transportation concerns within Skewgog, and we will also research into healthy living areas in Skewgog as well. We will continue to meet with the Heritage and Housing Committees to educate each other and find ways to work together on common issues. And finally, we will continue to look at making the Township of Skewgog more accessible. And I will open it up for questions now.
Thank you, Sierra. Great presentation and a very ambitious work plan. Questions for Sierra? Oh, it shows how excellent your presentation was.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to bring forward the report right now. It's on page 87. Councillor Ross, did you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in reviewing of the motion 9.2.2, being the council representative for the Accessibility Committee, and in conjunction after speaking with the chair, with Sierra here, I believe that under the point number 3, the financial implications, the budget that's presented there is not the current one that was discussed at the last meeting. And so I'd like to make a motion that this be deferred until the next council meeting so that we can ensure that that is correct going ahead.
Okay. Does that affect the work plan? Does that affect the work plan, or would you just like to defer this part?
Just defer the 9.2.2, but keep the work plan. This doesn't affect the work plan at all as presented today.
Okay. The recommendations are that the council receive the Skewgog Accessibility Advisory Committee 2018 Annual Report for information and that the committee's 2019 work plan attachment 1 be endorsed. And then would you like this as part of the recommendation that the financial implications be deferred until further meetings with the accessibility committee?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, have you got that? Okay. Are you making that motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, seconder? Oh, I will receive it first, okay. Okay, that the presentation by Sierra Howey, Chair of the Scugog Accessibility Advisory Committee, regarding the 2019 work plan be received. Councillor Ross, Councillor McDougall, all in favor? Okay, and now your motion that I just read a few minutes ago. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? I'm sorry, I didn't get a seconder. Councillor, yes, I did, it's Councillor Guido. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Sierra. Good luck in achieving everything that you've outlined for us. Thank you. Now we'll move to Scugog Housing Advisory Committee 2019 Work Plan, and I'll welcome Valerie Cramner to the front here. Welcome, Valerie. And the report is on page 94. Yes, she is. Is your mic on, Valerie? Red light?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And, you know, a lot of the work we did in the last 4 years culminated in the housing plan being endorsed by council last summer. And we were able to provide, we thought, valuable input into the development charges at the region. We did a lot of legislation as well, initiatives, and also met with developers, and our symposiums have been very, very, very successful, and each year have grown. We are continuing in our work plan to work on various legislative initiatives that are coming forward from the province, fast and furious, that we're hoping that we can assist the township with comments on those as well. We're continuing to now implement the housing plan that was endorsed by council. And the committee has felt that one of the main things we could do is, in fact, do a parking study for parking standards. That was one of the issues that was sort of left open in the housing plan, and we feel that that still is something that needs to be addressed. So hopefully we'll be able to come forward with that. Also, we're working very hard already on our 5th annual symposium. It's going to be held on November 2nd, and we are trying very hard to come up with a program, or develop a program, that will encourage younger people to come, because we see a lot of seniors coming to the symposium, but we really feel that it's a lot of the issues that we have regarding the affordability of housing in the township really do impact the younger people in the township as well. So we are hoping that we will be able to have something that will really draw them to the community center on November 2nd. So we'll see what happens there. Martha's working very hard on that. So, and also we're working very hard, and we like to work collaboratively with the other committees, and we have recently met with the Heritage, and it's got a longer title, but I don't know, the Heritage Committee, and I know that Sierra has requested for a meeting with us as well, and we look forward to working with the other committees, just making sure that we're all going in the same direction for the residents of the township. There is a financial implication with regard to our work plan. In your
the council, when you set the budget, you established 2,000 for our committee. The committee spends more than 2,000 on just the housing symposium. We are able to do other evening sessions and that sort of thing through using sponsors and begging for space and begging for coffee and things like that. So we're okay with everything except for the budget for the symposium, and we do get a lot of people giving us support for our lunches and that sort of, and our gifts for the speakers. But this year we're looking at some expenses that aren't ones that are normally ones that we were able to get. We had a person on the committee who used to provide us with all of our audio-visual equipment free, and we are now going to have to pay for some of that or see what we can get from the township and work with it. But so we feel that there are some, we are requesting $3,000, an increase of $1,000 for the year. Hopefully we won't spend it all. Hopefully we will be getting sponsorships, but it's for some of the basic services that we need in order to provide the symposium on that day. And it's a very active committee. They keep me hopping with the things that they want to see at every agenda. So you know, it's fun to work with them. So it's nice to see people that excited about working for their municipality on a volunteer basis.
Okay, yes, we do very much appreciate all the work that you do.
And we have fun.
Are you ready for questions then? Okay, any questions? Councilor Weedle?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. In respect to the $1,000 increase in request for budget, this question is for Director Valentin. Where would that $1,000 come from?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would suggest that it would have to come from perhaps other committees within the budget.
So would we need to put the request out to other committees to see if they're not using their full budget before we approve the increase? Because I would hate to take from another committee that hasn't had the opportunity to request their full funding yet.
The budget is static at this point, so it would have to be allocated from a different area. If this budget was to increase, then a budget would have to decrease elsewhere.
Okay. So I'm not necessarily sure I'm comfortable yet to decrease anyone else's budget that isn't aware that their budget may be decreased. Just a question, was there ever a thought that the lunch is not a paid-for lunch, that the participants would need to pay for their own lunch?
The lunch is something I'm working on to have a sponsor for, but we don't know for sure. We have in the past had it sponsored. The big thing is the sound system and speaker gifts and some of the miscellaneous, you know, and the advertising. The advertising has gone up from what it was in previous years. It's just the cost of advertising going up. We're not changing anything we're doing. I hate to take away anything from another committee.
Right, but if you're looking at a sponsorship for lunch, I see that at $1,200. And if you're successful in obtaining that sponsorship, then you wouldn't need the $1,000 increase, potentially.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor McDougall?
Yes, thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm interested in the look at the parking study, and are you looking at parking requirements in general in terms of residential zonings, in terms of how many spots we have allotted towards residences, or are you looking specifically at how much parking we have in situ today in, say, the urban area?
It's more looking at the standards of the size of the lots, the parking, the amount of parking that's required for the various kinds of residential development. A lot of municipalities have now gone to smaller sizes for parking spaces, and that's the sort of thing we're looking at. Also, when you're looking at secondary units, the the committee feels that, in fact, the standard that's used in the township is higher than it is in other municipalities, and can be detrimental to somebody trying to establish a secondary unit. So there's a variety of things, not really looking at what is available for commercial parking, perhaps. It's more the residential aspect of parking.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Kiesebrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank you, Valerie, for your report. It's been a really busy year launching the Housing for All Ages and Stages, and considering that MPP Lindsay Park's Private Members Bill 69, that's short-titled the Golden Girls Act, which looks to amend Ontario's Planning Act and facilitate home sharing by unrelated seniors. Considering our seniors population in Ontario is expected to almost double to nearly 4.6 million by 2041, creative housing solutions and the ability of municipalities to support these solutions is really key. So we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment just to say that we're truly proud of the work that our Scugog Housing Advisory Committee has done. You've really helped facilitate transformative change to potentially benefit all of Ontario should this bill receive royal assent. So we do want to thank you very much for that. I was wondering, you mentioned in the report that you wanted to see the Housing for All Ages and Stages document be printed in a format that would highlight Scugog's housing priorities, because you've had inquiries from municipalities. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, the other municipalities have requested us to come and speak to them, and they also have sent people to our symposium. I think a number of people here are aware the mayor of Clarington seems to like to come here with his staff. And they've of course gone to our Golden Girls house, and I've also invited some members of our committee to go to their municipality and be involved in some of their things. It would be nice to have it look nice as opposed to what it is now. It was the first housing plan to be prepared, community-based housing plan to be prepared in Durham. A lot of municipalities are looking at that as a really good example of how they would like to see their work done as well. I do think that we did save the municipality a lot of money by doing it inside the committee. A lot of hard work on behalf of the members of the committee.
If I could, Madam Mayor, just one further comment. I really love the idea that you had of establishing a Scugog-based Habitat for Humanity that would allow Scugog families to become Habitat homeowners, and they could partner and volunteer and receive interest-free mortgages geared towards their income. Where are you at in getting that started, or is that just at the very early stages?
It's at the very early stages. The last time we talked to Mary at Habitat Durham, North Durham, or Durham, they were changing the process that they went through for that. And basically what they're looking for now is for a core group of people here in the township to sort of be the main focus for fundraising. And then once you get that going, then they will step in and help. So I know some people on our committee are looking at other people to see if they could sort of get some people interested in doing this. Now that we have sewage capacity, it might be a little bit easier to get a house, a lot that we can do this. It's something that is near and dear to a lot of the members of our committee to see a Habitat house here in Scugog.
Further?
Just one further question. I'm not sure, maybe to our CAO, but in order to get this document kind of spruced up for more sort of public view, would that be something that we could refer to our Director of Communications, to Lori, to assist with, or how could we support this request?
Thank you, through the Mayor. I guess, is this part of your work plan for this year, to do this?
We would like to see it. We don't have the money for it. If there's some way and we can assist the township in sprucing it up, doing things to it, then we will do that.
I guess maybe that's something we should talk about. I don't quite understand really the extent of what sprucing up means and sort of what you want done to it.
Pictures, I want
before
glossy.
Would you be updating it technically and then looking just to put,
Pretty it up?
Pretty it up a bit? Is that
Yeah, I
what
don't think it needs that much updating, but I think it's somehow, putting in some pictures of some of the people we've talked to, pictures from the symposium, whatever.
I would suggest that if that could be something you discussed at your committee level, and Mr. Heritage participates, and we have a committee coordinator, and through that, exactly what you wanted to do, and then give that back to us, and we'll have that conversation, see how we could help out.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay, Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to comment about the $1,000 request, the extra. Had there not been an election and had this committee been able to be off the ground, that request would have come in time for the 2019 budget. So I would really like, and if I need to, I would really like to make a motion that we could direct this to staff to try and find that $1,000. I don't know if it would have passed through the budget process, but I do know that it would have been a request had all the other elements not been in play.
Okay, well, we'll deal with the other motions when we come to the report. We can deal with that. Any other questions to the delegates? Seeing none, could I have a motion, please, that the presentation by Valerie Cramner, Chair of the Scugog Housing Advisory Committee regarding the 2019 work plan be received? Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Brown, questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay, moving to the report. I have, looking for a motion that report CORP 2019-012, Scugog Housing Advisory Committee 2018 Annual Report. We've already done this one. That the Scugog Housing Advisory Committee's 2019 work plan attached as attachment 1 to this report be endorsed. So this is just the work plan, not the, and if you want to make a further motion, you, another whereas or whatever. Do you want to just pass this motion and then make another motion regarding the financial?
I would just add in that the request for the extra $1,000 be directed to staff for consideration, given the constraints that were before us before.
Okay, that's moved by Councillor Watton. You got that? And do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Guido. Questions or comments? Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just the comment that prior to it being removed from another committee, that those other committees are...
I wouldn't support that either.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor McDougall, did you have your hand up? You're scratching your head, or did you have your hand up?
Well, my hand was up.
Okay.
My thought was, I mean, what if the amount was 500 instead of 1,000? Would that help us to come up with the funds rather than 1,000? No, I'm getting it.
No, I think the issue is the AV equipment and the dinner, so 500 wouldn't cut it, I don't think. Am I correct? Councillor Watton?
Yes, you are, but I would also like to reassure this council that we will attempt to find sponsorship to cover that, so, but it's just actually a placeholder in case we need it, because we do need good AV equipment. Last year, we struggled, and the audience really had trouble hearing it, and so we are trying to improve that and put on a better presentation, and I think it's important that we look professional and do as best job as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiesebrink?
Yeah, the event was fantastic. There was so many people and groups there from all over. It was, I mean, it was a really well done event, but you could not hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
No
so
other
many
questions?
seniors to complain.
Can I have all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very
thank
much
you.
for your presentation, Valerie. Oh, I didn't get who did what. Now, we call on Lori Bowers, our Manager of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, and Lori is going to talk to us about the strategic plan session overview and draft strategy, and the report is on page 77. Welcome, Lori.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. And I just have a small housekeeping note on the title. My apologies. The report is titled Final Strategic Plan Document. However, in my Word document, I think I carried over the header from the last time. You've seen me up here a couple of times now speaking about this subject, so I apologize to the clerk and staff. You've already heard the overview, so we won't go through it again. Do I drive this, clerk? Okay, thank you. So this evening, we are coming to the end of this process, and if you remember this little time chart, I'll just bring you to the fact that here we are, May 2019, and I can't hardly believe it, actually. It is such a undertaking, a strategic plan, and it's very satisfying to be here in front of you tonight with this. So the final strategic plan, I spoke to you in March, and since then we did host a public open house in April, and we showcased vision, mission, values, and strategic directions. The last time I was here, we did have a very detailed overview, and those documents are online under scugog.ca/strategic plan. I will touch on them again this evening. During the public open house, we had fairly good, modest to good attendance. I believe about 15 to 18 people that were not staff or council that attended from the general public. Good dialogue and positive feedback. Full list of projects and initiatives, as I mentioned, from the larger report is available online this evening, and part of this report is the public-facing version, if you will, the glossy version that we like to present to the public. And I'd like to introduce the final copy to you and to the audience. Okay, so hopefully this shows up okay. We'll just do a little walkthrough. The photography, again, keeping with the brand of the Township of Scugog and recently the tourism, all taken in the same vein and just keeping that lovely, good, rich photography happening through. That's the title page. Love this picture. And when you open the inside cover, we have a message from the mayor. One thing I will take note through in my conversations with regarding strategic plan, particularly at the public open house, question that I received, what is strategic plan, why strategic planning, and I think that we covered some of that off nicely in Mayor Bobby Drew's statement. And if I may, Mayor, can I read out your statement? Thank you. We are happy to present the updated Scugog Strategic Plan, a guiding document that outlines our plan projects, initiatives, and advocacy work. Progress of the plan will be reported annually through the 2019-2022 term of council, and priorities for the strategic plan will be reviewed every 4 years to coincide with each term of council. And on behalf of the Township of Scugog, our mayor thanks the public and stakeholders for their input into the strategic plan process. So we'll just walk through here. Our vision, a progressive, complete, and sustainable community respecting our history and enhancing our natural environment. Our mission, provide service excellence in collaboration with our community. Our values, integrity, being honest, professional, open, and transparent. Accountable, being responsible for wise decision-making. Engaging, being connected and in tune with the aspirations of the community, working together to create a better township for everyone. Responsive, actively listening, being respectful of community inputs and reacting in a timely manner. And solution-oriented, actively responding and adapting to challenges to arrive at solutions that work for Scugog. As you may recall, previous strategy had 6 directions. We included an additional 7th strategic direction. The last time I provided you an overview, I did go in detail with all these projects, but I'm just going to touch on the name and definition of each one for this evening. Roads and municipal infrastructure still our number one strategic direction as we leverage and improve transportation infrastructure and facility improvements, including a wide breadth of projects and ongoing initiatives and advocacy work in this area. Our second, financial sustainability. Improve financial sustainability through innovative funding and delivery of services. Again, we have levies, we grow our reserves. Establishing those levies has helped a great deal to bring us down the road of financial sustainability. There are still a pile of advocacy work in this area, and that will continue. Economic development and tourism. So we did add the tourism piece, and I thank you, Councillor Watton, for what you said earlier. Very pleased to be able to have participated in over 10 years, as I understand, of Scugog tourism conversations and planning. So very happy to see that piece added to create, grow, and attract employment opportunities. It's amazing just in the process of this plan, we're hearing, of course, now Dory's announcements with the hotel and just some of these things I'm already seeing. You'll be seeing a progress report coming forward, and you'll see some of these achievements being outlined. Municipal services provide services that are efficient and effective. And it's really here about modernizing our service delivery, modernizing policies, and improving those services within our means. And advocacy, again, is another common theme in this area. The natural environment, being stewards of the Greenbelt. We here protect and enhance our natural environment. And again, the advancement of the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project, protection of the tree canopy, stewardship, education, advocacy work. Number 6, community engagement. Encourage the involvement of all Scugog residents in sustaining and enhancing the quality of life in our community. This is also a bit of the collaboration piece, working with our volunteers. We are wonderfully collaborative with volunteers, and our town is amazing for bringing forward that type of support. Agricultural community roundtable sessions, I see on the list, something that we have undertaken and we will continue to do. And our fire safety, education, and engagement, I believe our chief is expanding to our rural and farm community. And our new one, number 7, complete community. In the planning realm, enhance our communities to be inclusive, healthy, safe, and connected. And even just hearing the 2 work plans presented this evening, I'm already seeing some of the nice continuity pieces that are flowing through with our strategy. Providing a variety of housing opportunities to meet the needs of present, future residents, completing the comprehensive waterfront action plan, to name a few, provide a conducive environment to attract a variety of business investment. As I said, this is the glossy, public-facing version, a full list of the projects and initiatives that you all outlined with the help of the consultant are available online through scugog.ca/strategic plan. And I'll just flip back to my presentation for next steps. If approved this document this evening, the public document will be released through news release, web news, and on social media. A digital copy will be sent to all staff members and community stakeholders, including our committees and boards, BIA, and the Chamber. Hard copies will be made available for Mayor and Council and provided at our front counters at the municipal facilities, including our Scugog Memorial Public Library. A progress report, as I mentioned before, for the strategic plan will come forward annually through the 2019-2022 term of council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie. It's quite exciting to, I got this on? Yeah. It's quite exciting to finally bring to a close all the consultation that we've had with our staff, with council, with members of our public, and we've taken it all in, and you've developed a wonderful brochure here that we can all be proud of. So thank you very, very much for all the work you've done. And thank you, council, and all of staff and the public for their input in this project. Is there any questions or comments for Laurie? Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one quick one. Did you say we would have like an annual update, or is it?
Like a progress report, yes.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor, excuse me.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is not more of a question, just more of a comment. So thank you very much. This is fantastic to see, and it started off with the process when we all sat around and had the big meeting of the minds. And I think that there's a lot of businesses and organizations, townships that do these, and they identify their values and their missions, but there's very few that at the end of the day actually live up to them at the end of the day. And I think that we have the opportunity, being so early on in our 4 years sitting in these seats, that we can actually use these as guiding principles. You know, the integrity, being open and transparent, accountability, responsiveness, and solution-oriented work. We as the council have the opportunity to use these values to truly guide the next 4 years. So thank you for making that happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And all of our reports will have a reference to parts of the strategic plan, and so that just keeps us on track, make sure that we're accountable and that we really truly believe it just doesn't sit on the shelf. Any other questions or comments? Could I have a motion, please, that the presentation by Lori Bowers, Manager of Communications and Strategic Initiatives regarding strategic plan, session overview, and draft strategy be received? Councillor Watton, Councillor Brown? No questions or comments. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And we'll move to the report, which is on page 77. And I'll read the recommendation. There's been a slight wording change, other than what's in your printed report. So that report, I'm looking for a motion, please, that report CAO 2019-004 final strategic plan document be received, and that the final strategic plan document be approved and released via media release to the public, hard copies be made available for municipal facilities, digital copy posted online and via social media, and shared by correspondence to all committees, boards, the Port Perry BIA, and the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. Mover? Councillor Watton? Councillor Ross? Questions or comments on the report? All those, ready? Oh, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lori. Okay, we've been at it for an hour and a half. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at, 7-minute break. We'll be back at 8 o'clock? Okay, thank you, I believe. Councillor McDougall? Yes. The reason being, our guest who is here with this report, Mr. Jean Chartier, is a consultant that we're paying by the hour. And he comes from a distance, so we want to allow him to be here for the business and then be on his way. Is he here? Where'd he go? There he is, the man of the hour.
You walked in, Jean.
Yes, we pulled your report forward, Mr. Chartier. So, we'll move to 9.2.9, and Councillor McDougall, you pulled the report. And it is on 9.2.9. It's on page 140.
Yes, I can. Yeah, absolutely.
So if we get the motion on the floor, that report FIN 2019-018 Development Charge Bylaw be received, and that the final 2019 Development Charges Bylaw be approved. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor McDougall. Seconder, Councillor Ross. And Councillor McDougall, you had some, you pulled this report. Did you have some questions?
I did. I'm just getting down to my questions right now. On page 269 of the report, which I think is buried into Hempson's information, 269.
Yes?
It identified an improvement for Marshall Road, and I believe the improvement was from Reach Road to Scugog Line 4, and with reference to the I believe it's growth pays for growth. I'm just looking to see what sort of growth we're expecting to see on Marshall Road between Line 4 and Reach Road.
Nope.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow, it's a lot of pages.
So, your question is?
The question is what growth are we going to see on Marshall Road between Reach Road and Scugog Line 4?
Director Coleman or
I'll try.
Director Valentine?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So growth may not be specific on that particular road as far as residential or commercial, but there are improvements that are required as growth in the community for travelers along that stretch of road. So it's not specific that there would be new development on that road, but it is the development that would have to go through.
Sorry, further through you, Madam Mayor. So are we suggesting that Marshall Road would be moved from a local road to some form of collector or arterial?
Director,
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. No, we're not suggesting that, but according to this, the calculations that were done, 16% of the cost of the work that needs to be done is attributed to new growth. 84% is attributed to benefit to existing growth. And as Director Valentine says, it's not necessarily on that road, the development, it's township-wide we're looking at, and that there increased traffic volumes on that road related to growth in general.
Okay, very good. Further on page 311, sorry, I'm just getting down to it. We have highlighted sidewalk and trail repairs. I think this is in the report from, or the letter from Altus to the township. 311. There it is. And we mentioned various trail and infill projects will be completed. Do we know at what point in time we'll have locations for those trails and sidewalk repairs? It's on number 5 of Altus's letter. Answer says various locations for sidewalk and multi-use trails.
Director Coleman?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. We expect that the active transportation plan that is underway currently would address those future trail and sidewalk locations.
Okay, very good, thank you. Further on page, it's hard to see here, it's 314, question number 12, I think it was Altus's question. I believe Hempson's answered the question. It was with regards to the secondary access on Scugog Island. And it talks about, the answer says, where the second access is needed to facilitate new development on Scugog Island. I guess my question is on that is, what development is the township of Scugog expecting to see on Scugog Island, inside of the township?
Go ahead.
Do you want the question again?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. We currently have several draft plans of subdivision that have been draft approved for Scugog Island. I don't have the specific numbers of lots that'll be developed. I can provide that to council.
So is the access for benefit for the existing, or is the access more for the development of the subdivisions?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, my understanding is that it's basically for the future development of the casino, for the expansion of the casino, the hotel. We're also considering a future development on 7 Mile Island Road as well that will be coming forward. We haven't received a development application as of yet, but that will be fairly extensive as well. That will also include a hotel.
Director Valentine, did you have something you would like to add to that?
Yes, so just This particular project has been in the books, has been on the DC background study and the prior study as well. So it has been identified as a need for growth in the community as a whole. However, we have not had collected the funds to be able to construct that second access. So it's come forward again in this study to help to facilitate that.
Thank you. Further through, Madam Mayor. So the DC charges off from the two hotels and the casino development will help to offset the costs of the secondary access?
There's no development charges for the casino.
Right, correct.
Director Valentin.
To you, Madam Mayor. We don't collect development charges from First Nations land.
Very good, thank you.
Just a reminder, councilors, this is a huge document. If you have questions, perhaps it would be fair to staff if you ask them offline, because I can't expect staff to have answers to a 300-page document. That they would certainly answer your questions, but may want to have access to their offices to dig up the information that you need. Are there any other questions in a general sense? Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, can I just get some more clarification, just a little bit fuzzy on Councillor McDougall's question in regards to Marsh Hill Road. What differentiates Marsh Hill from any other road, given, I'm not sure I understood the explanation that you gave earlier.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Director Valentin.
The specific, the roads were specifically identified through Public Works area as well as the engineering consultant Paradigm to look at traffic flows and traffic volumes, and that was identified as a need for improvement due to growth in Scugog and the transportation network that will be required.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So just Marsh Hill Road being identified as the growth through the township being directly related to Marsh Hill, is that correct?
Mr. Chartier, would you like to? Maybe you should know this 300-page document word for word. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the Councillor. There's a couple of items with respect to Marsh Hill Road. One is that it's been in the township's development charge bylaw for over 10 years because it is a relatively strategic location within the municipality. So the previous document in 2014 had contemplated the improvement of Marsh Hill Road from Ashburn Road up to Regional Road 21. The section from Ashburn to Scugog Line 4 has been completed, so it's the remainder of that section to complete that road. It gets used as a route for general traffic throughout the municipality because of its strategic location within the township. So it's been viewed for over 10 years as a road section that carries traffic beyond just the immediate area. That's sort of the key with the road projects that are identified in the development charge bylaw. They serve more than just the immediate area, because if they serve just the immediate area, then they would be the responsibility typically of the developer to upgrade. So development charges are really intended to capture projects that are of a more broader municipal nature. So just because of its location where Marsh Hill Road is, it needs to be upgraded to carry the growth in traffic from overall within the municipality.
Mr. Chartier was an employee of the Township of Scugog a number of years ago in the capacity of Parks and Works specifically. And so that's why he knows the area so well. He can clearly identify with Marsh Hill Road.
Great.
So, okay, anything else? Any other questions? Okay, the motion is on the floor to receive the report and that the final 2019 development charges bylaw be approved. We did get a mover on that? Yeah, okay. Councillor Watton? Okay. Okay. Any questions? Do I have a mover? I did get a mover. Okay. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We'll move straight to the bylaw. And we're going to be reading this first and second and a third time, because there's a slight change of there was a date in that. So I will read it, and I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder. That bylaw number 53-19 be read a first and second time. That the bylaw be amended to include a transition period in Schedules B, 2, and including Schedule 1, that maintains the current development charges from May 27th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019. And that the bylaw as amended be read a third time and finally passed this 27th day of May, 2019, and the mayor and clerk are hereby directed to sign same and affix the corporate seal thereto. So, all three readings. Mover? Councillor Watton? Councillor Guido? Questions or comments? Did you want to clarify that, Director Valentin?
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of the amended bylaw was just to ensure that there's a transition period for the development community. The bylaw, as it read in the agenda, would have come into effect tonight, and therefore the new increased charge would apply to any development applications or building permits issued tomorrow. So as working with the development community, we thought it fair to give them a transition period for the increase. This gives them a 5-week transition period from today's date to July 1st. And it also lines up with the region's indexing and what we typically, the date that we would typically index our charge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we passed that, did we? It was, yeah, okay. Okay, moving along in our agenda. We're in the consent agenda. So I have polls on 9.1.1, 9.1.6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. We dealt with 9.2.1, 2, and 3. So then we have 9.2.4 was polled, 9.2.5, 6, 8, and we just did that one, so that's done. And, okay, that's it. Can I have a motion to approve the rest as recommended? Councillor McDougall, Councillor Kiesebrink, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, 9.2.1, Councillor Brown. That is the minutes of the council, April the 29th. And that's on page 8. Councillor Brown.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, I think that it's 9.1.1, I believe you said 9.2.1.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9.1.1, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. And through you, I just want to move that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held April the 29th, 2019 be adopted and the demolition permit for 221 Mary Street be refused.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Watton? Questions or comments? Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And reading through the minutes, I see that the Muellers did have the opportunity to come in and speak with, I believe it was the Heritage Committee. Are they aware that this is what the decision is coming forward to council?
Yeah,
Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, they are aware that they had a certain timeline that they had to meet. And if they didn't meet the timeline, this was coming before council. And they had a decision to make, and they've just chosen to, I presume, chosen to make no decision on it, which leads us the refusal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
JP? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and just further to that, the clerk's office did contact Mrs. Mueller to ask if she would like to present to us tonight again, and we didn't hear back from her, so just as an FYI for council.
Oh, it's good of you. Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and further to what Councillor Brown said, at the joint Heritage meeting, they were also offered the opportunity and advised to either ask for a deferral or to withdraw their request to give them more time. So having said that, and what Councillor Brown has said, I think they've chosen not to do anything also.
Okay, are there any other issues in the minutes that, before we bring motion? Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to see if there was an update from Director Coleman in regards to the Gradall, the purchasing or leasing or finding options for it.
Director Coleman?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, the manager of Public Works and Parks has been starting to work on the tender documents for a new Gradall, to purchase one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, is there any implication into if it's just going to be a purchase, or that we're also looking at lease options or other options that would involve us getting a Gradall but through other means?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, we did look before at the option of leasing various equipment, and we found that purchasing them was the better way to go, that it was more cost-effective. So in this case, we didn't go back and review that again. We're just basing it on our findings from last time.
Thank you very much.
Anything else on the minutes? Okay, the motion is there. We got a seconder. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving now to the Blackstock Rec Complex Advisory Committee minutes, 9.1.6, and that is on page 35. And that was pulled by Councillor Watton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just would like to, and I'm not sure if it's a motion that's required, but on item 4 on page 37, with respect to the Blackstock Agriculture Society lease, the recommendation there is that it be renewed on an annual basis, and I would like to, and that the reason that recommendation is there is given the pending plans or things that may come forward with respect to the new arena. And I think the feeling was that on an annual basis that the hands would not be tied, and that also to give more clear indication that that consideration of what we're doing is part of their plan as well. So I'd like to have that recommendation approved. And also there is another recommendation there that's come forward from the Curling Club, and basically the same sort of thing, because we're putting out a plan to move forward on the arena. With the Curling Club, they've asked for a reduction in the allotted time, and while respecting that it's a lot of work for 2 hours, we felt that at this time to allow them to continue to play their sport, approval of the 2 hours should also be accepted by this council.
So, Councillor Watton, are you moving that the minutes of the Blackstock Rec Complex Advisory Committee held May 2nd, 2019 be received, and that council consider the request of Blackstock Curling Club to reduce their rental hours to 2 hours on Tuesday evenings, and that the Blackstock Agricultural Society lease be renewed on an annual basis with the township?
Yes.
Seconder, pardon?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I think you used the word consider. I think the councillor was looking for approve.
Approval.
Okay. Okay. Seconder? Unsure? Councillor Ross? All those any questions or comments on the minutes and the recommendation? Yes, Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a question on the minutes. On page 37, regarding the ice plant update, it says that Craig advised staff approved a cooling tower repair at the Blackstock Arena in the amount of $10,000. I'm just wondering if that came from our facilities reserve, or if that was just part of the budget that they already had.
Can you answer that question, Director, or do you have that information?
Through you, Madam Mayor, don't have it directly in front of me. I don't believe I came through our reserve. I think it's part of the operating.
Thank you. Any other questions on the minutes or the whole motion? Then I'll call the question. Did get a seconder, didn't I? Councillor Guido, I think it was. No, Councillor Ross. Was it? Councillor Ross, okay. No more questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is 9.1.7, and it's on page 39, and Councillor Watton, you pulled that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I might, I'll direct this to the council representative. It is just a question about the AED, if there is a location or what the thoughts were for that. I know that most of the municipal halls have them. I thought that was on. But also that many of them have financed them themselves, so I just wondered if you could give me a little bit more background on that. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. The AED initiative started with spitballing when we were looking at when the committee was looking at their work plan going ahead, and the drop in cost in AEDs and the new research coming out showing that the access to AEDs within, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but somewhere in the round of 30 seconds significantly increases, the turnaround of life from an episode. And looking at it more from an accessibility issue to review the township's AEDs, are they accessible? And for someone who has accessibility issues, that then ballooned into, do we have enough AEDs in the township, and so on to where you see it now. That's the background of it. It was more from it started out as an accessibility issue. Can people with accessibility difficulties actually access these, and to do a review of it, and then from there ballooned on forward. In the financial statement, which I brought up earlier, that was changed in the last meeting when it was identified that AEDs, although they've reduced in cost, they are not quite within the budget of the advisory committee. And the last meeting, that was reflected in those minutes. That's why we'll defer that to come back to that to bring you the proper figures.
Thank you, because I did note that in the minutes it says 3,000, and in the budget request it was 1,000. So is it the 3,000 is closer?
1,500. Okay. But then there's the maintenance, batteries, the case itself, it can balloon out, but the actual unit itself, depending on where you get it, somewhere between 800 and 1,500. So, and again, there's also, does that fall within the mandate of the advisory committee to purchase one? Is a question that was raised and needs to be addressed. So, as opposed to just looking at it and assessing it and coming back to the township and saying, this is what we recommend.
So you pulled that from the work plan anyway, right? It was deferred, yeah. Okay.
That's correct, yeah, that was passed earlier. Right.
Okay. So, could I have a mover, please, that the Accessibility Advisory Committee held, the minutes held May 2nd, 2019 be received? Councillor McDougall, Councillor Guido. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay, the next one is 9.1.8, Scugog Heritage Advisory Committee meetings on page 42, and that's Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I just would like to move that the minutes of the Scugog Heritage Advisory Committee held May 8th, 2019 be received, and the designation of 17100 Island Road, that's the Scoville Cemetery, be approved.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Watton. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. The Scugog Housing Advisory Committee, 9.1.9, page 50, and Councillor Kiesebrink, you pulled that.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. So would you move that they be, the minutes be received?
I'd like to move that 9.1.9, the Scugog Housing Advisory Committee board and minutes be received.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Brown? All those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. The next one is 9.1.11, Economic Development Advisory Committee, on page 57. Counselor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to move that these minutes be received, but also that the committee's 2019 work plan be endorsed.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those, seconder, sorry. Counselor Kiesebrink. All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. That was Guido and Kiesebrink. Okay, now we've got, what do we got next? 9.1.12, Scugog Tourism Advisory Committee, and that's on page 63. Counselor Watton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and basically, it's the same process, just that the minutes be received and that the 2019 work plan be approved.
Seconder? Thank you, Counselor Guido. Questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. 9.1.13, Port Perry Business Improvement Area, May 14th, and that is Counselor Brown, and that is on page 67? 67.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that the minutes of the Port Perry Business Improvement Area Board held May 14th, 2019 be received, and the request to occupy 181 Perry Street, Unit G1, at $400 a month on a month-to-month basis be approved.
Seconder? Counselor Watton, questions or comments? Counselor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Perhaps Councillor Brown would be best to address this question. On page 75, 13B, it says, S. Bennett expressed his agreement to share space with other groups in a tourism office supported by the township. Can you please just advise what the support of the township is?
I can, as soon as I find the page number. Just bear with me if you would, please.
75.
75. I'm going to let Councillor Kiesebrink look at my page 75. So I'll just ask you to repeat the question, and I'll just go offhand on this.
Sure. It says, S. Bennett expressed his agreement to share space with other groups in the tourism office supported by the township. I'm just questioning what support they're requesting from the township.
Well, I think at some particular juncture in the future, they're going to be, I don't know this for a fact, but my presumption is they're going to come to the township and ask for financial assistance in that regard. So that will be, whether it's financial assistance through rent or some other means, that's what my understanding is through what Mr. Bennett said at the meeting.
So then, my question to the clerk, if we approve these minutes, are we approving said support?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to Council. No, the minutes are being received as all of our advisory committees and board minutes are now. So it's just to receive, and if we get a request, as Councillor Brown has suggested, then that'll come back forward to Council for approval.
Okay, so Counselor Watton, you had a question?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. On item C on the same page, it says a film policy, that they put forward a motion to create a policy. But I just want to question, do we as a municipality not have a film policy? And if so, can we be sure that's relayed to the BIA prior to them putting in a lot of work to create one?
Ms. Bowers, I think you have an answer to that, where you raced up to the microphone.
Raced up here. Thank you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. We do have a film policy, and as I understand it, it was created in conjunction with input from the BIA. I believe it was around 2007, the original policy. I took a look at it based actually just on these minutes. I refresh myself with it often. And I reached out to the BIA actually today and offered my assistance to provide an overview on that current policy and on film in general, on our permits and the work that I've been doing the last 3 years as part of the Film and Television Advisory Committee at Durham Region, and just to help bridge that information and education and let them know that I'm working in their corner as it relates to film.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Where are we now? 13, 9.2.4. Bill 108, the township comments. That was the report that came a little later. And so I would ask Director Heritage if you would like to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll provide a fairly high-level overview of the report for Council's consideration. This bill, as you know, received its first reading and was released for public comment on May 2nd. And the government has given municipalities and other interested parties 1 month, 30 days, to provide their comments on this omnibus bill that proposes to amend 15 different statutes. Staff has reviewed the amendments to the Planning Act, the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal Act, the Development Charges Act, and the Ontario Heritage Act, and has several serious concerns with a number of the amendments that are being suggested to each of these acts, and that's outlined in the staff report. Now, in terms of the Planning Act, there's being introduced a new community benefits charge for libraries, community centers, and arenas, etc., that will replace the bonusing provisions in the Planning Act, and that was Section 37 of the Planning Act. There are also additional residential unit policies for 3 units in single, semis, and row houses and ancillary buildings. That is a required policy that is to be incorporated in official plans. The government is recommending a reduction in decision timelines on various applications. So it's basically moving back to previous amendments that were made by the government. So it's not giving municipalities and councils, I guess it's giving governments and staff less time to respond to development applications, such as site plans, official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, and draft plans of subdivision. Inclusionary zoning policies will only now apply to major transit station areas, and the Township of Scugog does not have a major transit station area. They're basically focusing on the City of Toronto. Appeals to LPAT. These appeals now can be broader in scope, and those appeals are similar to what could be appealed to the former Ontario Municipal Board. So that results in a reduction in municipal control over planning decisions. In terms of the Development Charges Act, their proposed exempted development DCs on certain items such as second dwelling units and new dwellings. And there's also a major amendment dealing with the deferment of development charges for rental housing, institutional, industrial, commercial, and not-for-profit housing. Development charges are to be determined on the submission date of a development application for site plans and zoning bylaw amendments. Currently, under the current statutes, development charges are due prior to the issuance of building permits. So, in effect, a development charge for a development application could come in 5 years ago, or at a particular period in time, and then the building permit and development doesn't occur for 5 years. The development charge is fixed on when that application was submitted to the municipality. In terms of the Ontario Heritage Act, appeals of notices of intent to designate are now to be considered by the LPAT.
They're no longer to be considered by the Conservation Review Board. Under the current scenario, any appeals go to the Conservation Review Board. The Conservation Review Board holds a hearing. They prepare a report with recommendations. That report comes back to council, and council has the final decision on the designation of a property. In what's being recommended in Bill 108 is that LPAT will have the final decision on the designation of a heritage property. So as I indicated, the comments are due by June 1st, and staff is recommending the opposition to Schedule 3, dealing with the Development Charges Act, Schedule 9, in terms of amendments to the Local Planning and Appeals Tribunal Act, Schedule 11, dealing with the Ontario Heritage Act, and Schedule 12, amending the Planning Act. That concludes my comments, and I'd be pleased to respond to any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Director Heritage. CIO, did you want to add anything to that? You covered it. Director Heritage, I want to commend you for this report. I'm sure all of council does. The timelines were totally unrealistic for comments on 15 acts. 30 days isn't even enough time to comment on one or two. On a tremendous workload that you have, you've added this to this report, and it's an incredible amount of work that you've done, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Questions? First of all, I guess we should have a motion on the recommendation. Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Watton, questions? Director Ross, or Councillor Ross, you, I'm getting tired. Councillor Ross, you pulled this report, so please go
Thank you,
ahead.
Madam Mayor. First, I want to resonate the Mayor's comments in regards to the report and the omnibus bill, which is daunting at best. A number of questions just in regard, just two on clarification, then in regards to the comments themselves. 2.4, which is Schedule 12, amending the Planning Act. Just a point of clarification. If the township opposes Section 12, is it also opposing the community benefits charge? Because that's a section of Section 12, or Schedule 12 is omnibus within itself. Do you feel that the community benefits charge is actually acceptable, given the change to their development charges?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. The way I structured the recommendations for council's consideration was that I identified the specific provisions under the different acts that we had concerns with. And it doesn't speak to the community development charge under the Development Charges Act or the Planning Act. It speaks to, and I indicated that in my presentation, about the freezing of development charge rates at an early point in the development process, and extenuating the time for development charges for industrial and commercial development over an extended period of time. So those are the main points that I want to bring to council's attention and to the provincial government.
Okay, so if we oppose Schedule 12 as it states here, then that could be, the CBCs could be sectioned off from that Section 12?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. If I may, through you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, there's a couple here. You've identified the timeline reduction being the primary problem with Schedule 12. Notwithstanding the other reasons that aren't identified, are there areas that are identified where the township can expedite the planning process to conform to the schedule if it does pass?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, through you, Councillor. In terms of, it would be extremely difficult for that to happen and comply with the statutory requirements under the Planning Act, because we have to hold statutory public meetings, proper consultation with the neighborhood and the residents, consultation with agencies and internal departments, get reports forward, and there's certain timelines that have to be abided by there as well. So it's extremely difficult to bring a report forward and have a council decision on a planning matter within the required timelines that are outlined in this bill.
So within those, I don't have the timelines right in front of me right now, but understanding that there are the statutory limitations on it as far as how many days has to be in front of the public and everything. So your word choicing, saying difficult, should that be moved towards near impossible to do based on what's already there, or is it actually workable?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, in most situations, it will not be workable. As you know, there are a number of developments that we're dealing with are infill developments, and they're very sensitive type developments that require extensive public consultation, and we have, at the staff level, have changed the planning process in the Township of Scugog, where we're holding more public open houses, presenting development applications to the public, not in front of council, and to give the developers an opportunity to present their development applications, receive questions, and respond to those questions. I think that's a far healthier process than trying to bring applications forward that are not fully baked and haven't had proper consultation with the general public.
Okay, thank you. Is it worthwhile having our comments reflect just what you said as far as that this is, yes, they can't be baked properly, or whatever the words were. In regards to the comments, moving on to the LPAT appeal, which is 2.1.6, the tribunal. Under our comments that are listed there, I'm concerned that the township's comments aren't strong enough, nor encompass the many things that are less desirable with the tribunal. Given your previous concerns about the township not meeting these timelines, can you speak to expanding on the breadth of the comments that are listed under 2.1.6 in the comments section?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, are you looking for something that's, it's a high-level comment where, under the current rules, if an application conforms with a provincial plan or an official plan, it's very difficult to appeal it to the board, to LPAT, and have an appropriate case. What is being recommended in Bill 108 is basically to reverse that and go back to the old system under the Ontario Municipal Board, where anything would be basically eligible for appeal to the board, and you'd be into a lengthy and a costly Ontario Municipal Board hearing.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so the comments that are under the title here, those are the direct comments that would go forth in the township's response to Bill 108. Is that correct, or would you expand on these beyond what's actually stated here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, a copy of the staff report with a council resolution would be forwarded to the province for representing our comments.
Okay. So, through you, Madam Mayor, in regards to that, just the ability, as you've stated in your report here, for a case to go before the tribunal if the timelines aren't met, given your previous response that the timelines are going to be near, impossible to meet, that automatically defers to the tribunal. Is it worth just stiffening the language, perhaps, in the comments in relation to the tribunal and how everything, if they can't meet the timelines, then it's automatically off to the tribunal?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, just for, I guess, one point of clarification, it's not automatically off to the tribunal. The applicant would have the ability to appeal their application to the tribunal if the municipality doesn't meet the required timelines. But in a lot of situations, applicants want to work with the municipality, want to work with staff, and they don't appeal the application within the required timelines, because it's costly for the applicant as well to go to LPAT.
Okay, thank you. One more, if I may? Okay. Director Herritage, through the mayor, page 8 out of 10 under the comments under the Development Charges Act. On the last line of the comments states, there'll be also additional costs for municipalities to administer, the deferral of development charges. What will the additional cost be to administer the deferral to that? Do we, in general?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So administratively, we would have to document when the application comes in, when the payment comes in, how long it has to, and then follow up on payment plans. So if it's deferred over 5 years with 5 equal payments, staff would have to go back and follow up and invoice. There's a lot of administrative and following up. Right now, we don't have to do that. Right now, when a building permit is issued, the development charge that is in effect at that time is what is charged. There would be the administrative issue of looking back to what was the charge in effect at that time, where's the documentation, and then moving forward on the collection over a 5-year period. Additionally, you have a cash flow issue. So if we currently get the DCs at a current point in time, we have that money. If it's deferred over 5 years, we can't do those projects. Right now, we're working with our reserve fund to actually do the projects that we have cash for. If we start to do projects without the cash, that means we have to debenture, and then we're incurring interest charges as well.
Great.
Mr. Hugh?
If I could add, there's also, I think the treasurer mentioned the collection part, so that, as she mentioned, when the building permit's issued under today's rules, the DC charge is paid. If they're allowed to pay it over a 5-year period, what happens if after the building's built and 2 years pass and they default on their payment? Then we would have to try to collect those fees some way. Also, I just wanted to reassure you that the report, the fundamental of the report is opposition in each of those 3 areas. And the summary comments, I think, are enough information that the writers are behind the scene here at the province that are doing these acts, they would fully understand what we're getting at.
That's great. Perfect. As long as they know what, yeah, with planning speak.
And that's right.
Yeah, okay. I guess just in the last question, under the Heritage Act, we have a one-liner in our comments in planning speak, or so that I understand that they would understand what you're saying. Does that, the comment being heritage issues are local matters and should be determined locally and not by the LPAT? Is that enough to get by, that points including like promoting economic development and creating added value to the community are all key aspects of the Heritage Act? Would that be understood from the provincial side on their planning department?
Again, I think it is that's the principal point here, is that they're taking council's decision-making authority away from them and giving it to LPAT, who's a third party, so you're losing control. We're saying that heritage issues are a local issue, and that final decision should remain with council. And that's what this is saying, and that's our opposition to that change.
Further,
Great.
Councillor Ross?
I think I've done my job. Thank you.
Councillor McDougall?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Director Heritage, for your hard work on this. Question is, page 8, it says there will be additional costs for municipalities to administer the deferral of development charges. So with regards to those costs and the interest, are we requesting, should this move ahead, that there will be some mechanisms in there that will allow us to recover those costs?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't know at this point because it's still in second reading right now. Been in deep discussions with our consultant, Hemson, that has done this DC background study. So the consultants are watching this very closely to see the implications to the municipality and how we move forward.
Further through you, Madam Mayor, is it fair to say that the upper tier has similar concerns as the lower tier?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Anything further? Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Do we have a timeline on what will happen after this? Obviously, we're going to say we don't like it. So what happens when we say we don't like it and we get that done by June 2nd, if I understand correctly? It's in second reading now. How does it play out from here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. The deadline for comments is June 1st. It's in second reading and debate right now. It hasn't been forwarded to committee as of yet. It will be forwarded to committee, I would assume, and then it will be debated in committee, and then ultimately come back for a third reading if it gets that far. In terms of timing, that's entirely up to the committees at the provincial level.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that they're going to have enough time to do this before their summer break, not if they're going to give a lot of consideration to all of the comments that are coming in. Anything further? Councillor Kesebrink, you're okay? Good. Well, I'm going to read the motion. Sit back and relax. That report DEV 2019-016, Bill 108, More Homes, More Choice Act 2019, summary, Township of Scugog comments be received. That the Township of Scugog opposes the following schedules to Bill 108, More Homes, More Choice Act 2019. First one, Schedule 3, amending the Development Charges Act 1997, which among other matters will freeze development charge rates at an earlier point in the development approvals process, and development charges for industrial and commercial development would be paid in equal annual installments over a 5-year period following building permit issuance. Schedule 9, amending the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal Act 2017, which reverts many of the practices and procedures of the tribunal back to those of the former Ontario Municipal Board, thereby authorizing an unelected, unaccountable body to make planning decisions for the Township of Scugog. Schedule 11, amending the Ontario Heritage Act, which designates the final approval authority to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal regarding heritage matters rather than now where it rests with the Township of Scugog. And Schedule 12, amending the Planning Act that would, among other matters, reduce the timelines for making decisions related to official plans, zoning bylaws, and plans of subdivision, further impeding the Township's ability to make planning decisions and potentially increasing appeals to the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal. That the province properly engage and consult with municipalities before further proceeding with the proposed legislation, and that staff be authorized to submit this report to the province as the Township's comments on the Bill 108 More Homes, More Choice Act 2019. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next item is 9.2.5, proposed modifications, and it's Councillor Kesebrink, and it's on page 100. Councillor Kesebrink? You're okay? Okay, do I have a mover for this? Would you like to move that, Councillor Kesebrink? Okay, and then who else, seconder? Councillor Watton. Questions or comments? All those, Councillor McDougall?
Yes, I have a question on page 100, 2.1. It's, I believe, referring to an area D5-1. Is that area an active, I think there's an active farming area near that D5-1. Is that part of the consideration for this area for growth?
Director Heritage?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. When this area, or when the official plan came forward back in 2009, there was an active farming area north of Whitfield Road. And since that point in time, a further study has been done, an MDS study, indicating that it only impacts a very small portion of the lands that are affected by D5-1. So what staff is recommending as part of the process here is that this D5-1 be exempt from the 2019 growth plan, and that the 2006 growth plan and the 2005 Greenbelt plan be in effect. So there's no reason there's no reason why this area can't be brought forward and be included in the urban area.
Very good. Further through you, Madam Mayor. On page 3 of 6 of the report, I believe it's page 102 at the bottom, it mentions about municipal water and wastewater services impacting further intensification. Will these areas be on services?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, my understanding is that the area in the north end is serviced by municipal water. No sanitary services are up in that area. And in the hamlets, Caesarea is on private services and Blackstock has municipal water.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's all.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, there's a lengthy recommendation here. That report, DEV 2019-017, entitled Proposed Modifications to OREG 311/06, Transitional Matters - Growth Plans, made under the Places to Grow Act 2005 to implement a Place to Grow growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe 2019 be received. And 2, that the proposed modifications to OREG 311-06, Transitional Matters Growth Plans made under the Places to Grow Act 2005 to implement a Place to Grow growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe 2019, Growth Plan 2019, be amended by adding further modifications to exempt the following planning matters from the new plan. 2.1, that deferral D5-1 to the Township of Scugog official plan regarding the Port Perry urban area boundary located in the vicinity of Whitfield Road be exempt from sections 2.2.8.2 and 2.2.8.3 K2 and 5 of the Growth Plan 2019 and be subject to the Growth Plan 2006 as it read on June 16, 2006. 2.2, that the deferral D2-2 to the Township of Scugog official plan regarding the hamlet of Caesarea be exempt from sections 2.2.8.2 and 2.2.8.3 K1, 2, and 5 of the Growth Plan 2019 and be subject to the Growth Plan 2006 as it read on June 16, 2006. And 2.3, that deferrals D2-1, D2-3, and D2-4 to the Township of Scugog official plan regarding Blackstock be exempt from sections 2.2.8.2 and 2.2.8.3 K1, 2, and 5 of the Growth Plan 2019 and be subject to the Growth Plan 2006 as it read on June 16, 2006. And number 3, that report DEV 2019-017 entitled Proposed Modifications to OREG 311-06, Transitional Matters Growth Plans, made under the Places to Grow Act 2005 to implement a Place to Grow growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe 2019, be forwarded to the province as the Township's comments for consideration and circulated to the region of Durham for information. It is a mouthful, and I'm doing that for the benefit of the viewing audience. So, did we get a mover and seconder on that? Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Watton. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Are you voting? Thank you. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. The next one is on page 108, and it is 9.2.6. The Envision Durham Ag and Rural System Discussion, page 108. And Councillor Brown. Oh, there he is. I thought you'd left the room. Councillor Brown.
Oh, I'm trying to fix my computer. So, beg your pardon. Yes, I had a number of questions about, this is the Envision Durham Ag and Rural System Discussion paper. Most of these are directed at Director Heritage. On page, looks like page 111 and 112, they're talking about a rural-urban interface, and they mention edge planning, which was done for Peel and York regions. They took some of those ideas from California, which had, for example, San Jose establish an urban growth boundary. Do we have such a thing here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. Yes, we have a similar item here. It's called a settlement area boundary, and that's identified in the Scugog official plan for Port Perry.
Okay, and just subsequent to that, and if I may continue, item 4, renewable energy, they talk about the old act being gone, and that we need a policy. Where are we at with things like wind farms in this municipality? Is there a regulation for or against them here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, we have certain criteria for wind farms that are incorporated in the Scugog official plan, and that wind farms do have to comply. Now, the rules, as you know, have completely changed with the deletion of the Green Energy Act. So municipalities now have the authority to approve such facilities, but there are criteria outlined in the official plan that speak to wind farms.
Okay, thank you. On page 113, item 7, prime agricultural areas, they're talking about agricultural impact assessments, and they mention in there, eliminate the requirement for ag products to be sourced from the farm unit upon which a farm stand is situated. Does that in any way, shape, or form mean that people in this area might see more farm stands? Something that I've seen before in other places where you sell your wares on the side of the road, and does this in any way, shape, or form help improve that situation here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, it could perhaps. We will be working, or local staff will be working with regional staff to deal with those matters, and then anything implemented at the regional level, we can implement at the local level.
Item 11, page 117, rural settlements, establishing a limit on hamlet development. What does that mean exactly?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, currently in the Durham Regional Official Plan, hamlets are identified as conceptual areas. They're circles that are drawn around hamlets, and at the local level, the Scugog Official Plan specifically identifies the location or boundaries for hamlets. What is being suggested in this discussion paper is that the specific boundaries be incorporated into the Durham Regional Official Plan and be reflected at the local level.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Director.
Any other questions? Councilor McDougall?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. On page 111, it refers to, would suggest implementation of MDS formula would be best dealt with through a local level. I'm not sure I would think that some of my agricultural partners would tend to agree with that, as there is possible room for error interpretation in terms of MDS. And I'm not sure all municipalities would have enough expertise to deal with that. Director Heritage, would you think that all municipalities would be able to deal with MDS accurately on a local level?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the council, yes, I do. There's specific software that's produced by the province that local municipalities can download and actually put the numbers in, and it will spit out the required setbacks for various land uses.
Okay, very good. Further, on page 114, in the middle of the page, it talks about site plan control to facilitate on-farm diversified uses. Are we proposing to have site plans for farms?
Director?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, well, this is something that is being, perhaps, what we're going to do is look into that, depending on the nature of the on-farm diversified use. These on-farm diversified uses can be fairly intensive. There are several examples throughout the municipality and other municipalities where there are fairly large retail facilities that are located in conjunction with farms. So it may be appropriate to enact site plan control for those types of uses.
So, further through, Madam Mayor, sorry, would there be like a definitive level of size or enterprise that we'd be looking at for site plans, or could it be as simple as somebody has a sign up saying eggs for sale and they now require a site plan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, no, that's not the case. The case would be a substantial retail facility that would be going in that we would consider site plan control.
Okay, very good. One further on the same page is, it talks about undeveloped land between the urban area and the supporting area being clearly distinguished as urban and rural. Is agricultural land not considered undeveloped? And then urban land considered developed? I mean, is that not a pretty clear boundary?
Director?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. Just to give you an example, in the township of Scugog and Port Perry, there are lands that are currently being used for agricultural purposes that are located within the urban boundary. To give you an example, the Jeffrey Farm on the north side of King Street in Prince Albert, it's located within the urban boundary of Port Perry, but it's an agricultural use.
Okay, very good, that's all, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm looking for a motion that report DEV 2019-018 dated May 6, 2019, entitled Envision Durham Agricultural and Rural System Discussion Paper be received, and that staff be authorized to submit this report and the attached memorandum as the township's comments on the agricultural and rural system discussion paper. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Guido. Questions or comments? All those in favor? I'm sorry, hands up. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. The last one for the evening is Reserve and Reserve Funds, 9.2.8 on page 129, and Councillor McDougall.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
The motion?
Sorry, a motion to put this on the floor, to move it?
I beg your pardon?
A motion to move this?
Yes, would you move that report FIN 2019-017, Reserve and Reserve Funds 2018 closing balance and opening balances for 2019 be received? Okay. Seconder? Councillor Watton? Okay, your question?
Question was for clarification, so we're just getting to the page right now. It was with regards to the amount that we have in the reserve funds. I think it was 14.9 million in reserves. Is that correct? Through to Director Valentin.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is correct. That's the GL balance at this point, or at December 31st. There are $3.2 million committed for various projects, which leave an uncommitted balance of $11.2 million at December 31st.
Further through you, Madam Mayor, question with regards on page 134, 2.14, self-insured loss reserve. It says some of the funds have been utilized for risk mitigation projects. What exactly is a risk mitigation project?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Director.
So we've been utilizing some of these funds to help our IT with firewalls and to ensure that we have strict protocols on our computer softwares and such. So our IT manager has been utilizing some of this. We use some of it for our cyber insurance. We had to do a privacy audit last year. So there's various things that we're trying to mitigate any risk that the township has.
So further through you, Madam Mayor, so this isn't like sidewalk repairs for trip and fall hazard type risks?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no.
Okay, very good. Thank you, that's all.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Director Valentin, this is a great report, and I know that I'm going to be putting this in my budget binder for 2019, so that when I've got great ideas for 2020, I'm going to be looking to see where I can get the money to do it. So, and it'll be in the reserve. So thank you very much for this. It's a very comprehensive report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're finished. We have completed our agenda. Done all the bylaws. Notice of motion, Councillor McDougall. Would you like to read your motion? Seconded by Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank you. Whereas the former pedestrian crossing at Highway 7 and 12 and Craig Road was removed by the Province of Ontario, Whereas the safety of pedestrians is of the utmost importance to the Township of Scugog. Whereas the Township of Scugog 2019 to 2022 strategic plan identifies the strategic direction of complete communities by enhancing our communities to be inclusive, healthy, safe, and connected. Whereas the hamlet of Greenbank is divided by a provincial highway 7 and 12. Whereas the Greenbank Public School is located on Craig Road east of 7 and 12, and Durham Student Transportation Services have indicated that 14 students would need to cross this highway to walk to school, whereas the community of 554 people is divided with the community center, church, park, and ball diamonds, playground equipment, and Canada Post mailboxes being on the east of Highway 7 and 12, and the general store, restaurant, and bakery are on the west side. Whereas GO Transit has stops located on the 81 route located at Craig Road crossing, whereas the region of Durham has adopted a Vision Zero strategy for vulnerable road users, including pedestrians and intersections as focus topic. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Scugog request that the Ontario Minister of Transportation, Metrolinx, install pedestrian crossover, intersection pedestrian full signal, or full traffic signals at the intersection of 7 and 12 and Craig Road to provide a safe and accessible crossing for pedestrians of all ages.
Anything you would like to add? Got it pretty well covered, I think, Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, I think so.
Any questions or comments, Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor McDougall, for bringing it forward. I think it's a great motion, and I would wholly support it.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Councillor McDougall. There's no new business, no more closed session. I'm looking for a confirming bylaw. Mover, please. Councillor Ross, seconder. Councillor McDougall. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Guido, Councillor McDougall. All those in favor? That's great, thank you. Council, that was a huge agenda, 500 and some odd pages. How much? 582 pages. I don't know what you else